been about 2 weeks and I've logged in probably about 50 hours in the game so far. And you wouldn't believe it, but barely any of those was spent waiting for a server. I was actually playing. I know, what a lucky boy I am.
Wow, this has just been such a pleasure. I'm such a lucky boy.
And in that time, I've experienced soaring heights and crushing lows, sometimes back to back. As I've gotten closer to unlocking every weapon, every armor, every stratagem, and so forth, I find myself thinking about the future of this game. What can the community and I expect for this popular online squad PvE shooter? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we know is coming, and let's talk about what we hope is coming. I'm Daniel, this is the Get Network, and let's talk about what's next for Helldivers II. Okay, let's start by things we've heard directly from the developers or have even seen with our own eyes. It's been promised that in the coming weeks and months, players can expect a steady stream of new items for the categories we already have. Expect new weapons, new stratagems, new Hellpod perks, new armor sets, and new war bonds to grind out and earn said weapons, stratagems, Hellpod perks, and armor sets. But perhaps the most exciting thing we know is coming, because they straight up showed it in a trailer, is the Pilotable Mechs, or exosuits, depending on your preference of labels. We know they're coming, we just don't know when, but it'd be safe to assume it's very soon, since we've already been shown footage of it in action. And players are excited about the idea of a vehicle they can pilot. That said, my knowledge of pop culture and video games make me believe that these mech suits will be a slow and lumbering sort. Able to absorb and deal out massive damage, yes, but making map traversal faster, as I think some people are thinking it'll do, I wouldn't hold my breath. But let's use that to shift gears and discuss upcoming content we hope will be added to Helldivers in the near future. Clearly, people wouldn't mind some vehicles to help make traversing the map a bit quicker. And in Helldivers 1, we had multiple vehicles to help us in the fight against the bugs, the bots, and the... Let's just stop at bugs and bots for now. Foreshadowing. There were APCs and motorcycles. Not only that, you could upgrade the motorcycle and add a machine gun turret sidecar for your buddy to ride in. Which brings us to another thing we'll hopefully see implemented soon. Upgradable gear and weapons. Or maybe just a bit more weapons customization than is currently present. Maybe I could just tweak the stats to say gain an expanded clip size in exchange for more severe recoil? I'm just spitballing here, but anything to let the players adjust their experience to cater to different playstyles would be welcome. Okay, we talked about vehicles, we talked about upgradable gear. Next up, I want to talk about these bureau terminals in our ships. When will they get turned on? What will they do? The internet seems to think it'll either be a terminal to explore the game's lore and or the game's enemies, or maybe it's a terminal to customize our mechs. But personally, I feel like that would probably be in the already existing terminals. Or maybe the bureau is just related to making clans in the game. I don't know. It's already on the ship though, so I guess it's only a matter of time until we get an answer. Okay, let's move on to new enemy types. First, let's look at what enemies are already in Helldivers 1 and might make the jump to Helldivers 2, specifically some of the bosses. Now, for the Terminids, or the bugs, there's the Hive Lord. It's a massive, bile-spewing, dune sandworm-esque creature with giant pincers that burrows up from the ground to attack our soldiers. And on the Automaton side, there's the Helldivers 1 Siege Mech. It's pretty much like a souped-up tank with tons of sentry turrets on top as it tears its way towards you. Now, let's just go ahead and call this out. Let's acknowledge that in Helldivers 1, technically it was the Cyborg faction. It is not the same Automatons we are fighting in Helldivers 2. So maybe we shouldn't be using Helldivers 1 as a reference in this case. But I think both of these would make pretty excellent additions to the game's already fun rosters of enemies. Now though, let's let our imagination run wild and guess wildly at some of the other enemies we could add to the mix. For my first recommendation on the bug side, I'd like to channel the fear, disgust, and rage that nearly everyone knows. The creature that seems to creep near us at all times just out of sight. I'm talking, of course, about the bastards that are known as house centipedes. These assholes really get under my skin when I see one cleaning on the wall. And I tell you, I've seen one that stretches longer than a subway footlong. Now imagine that as an in-game enemy, much larger and pissed off at you for some reason. You could shoot them in half, but they'll still crawl towards you with the front half. Now even faster since you lightened them up. The enemy, in my opinion, it shouldn't have any sort of ranged attack at all. In fact, I imagine it's moving in irregular patterns. It's more of a mental weapon on the bug side. It's there to distract you as their bug buddies get in a little bit closer for the kill. Now, if we're not going to do a house centipede, as a runner-up, I'd like to suggest the scorpion fly as an inspiration for an enemy. Right off the bat, the name is scary. Then, when you see why they are called that, you suddenly begin to fear that maybe Satan got to make a few creatures while God was busy working on giraffes, bunnies, and other silly sods. But think about how crazy they would be in game, or really any flying creature. We have a lot of jumpers in the game already, but no truly aerial enemies. It would be a game changer to have to take your eyes off of the horizon of enemies to look up and take care of the scorpion fly swarms that I imagine would be dive bombing at you. Attack and retreat style, like that damn bird that would always attack me when I was mowing the lawn. But maybe it would be too game changing to have flying enemies. Let's leave it up to the developers to make that call. Now let's move on. Let's think of some hypothetical robo-dodos. I have two suggestions, and neither of them are flying. First off, what about the Boston Dynamics dog? If the Horizon series taught me anything, it's that robot versions of animals are awesome. And people have been joking, not joking, about the Boston Dynamics dog being modified for the battlefield for many years now. Also, I think it might create some great fan lore about robots and their robot dogs that live in the Automaton Empire. Maybe they have a robot version of the book Shiloh in their society. Maybe they grow up with a Robo Scooby-Doo on their Robo TVs. Maybe they have a mathematical answer to the eternal question of what smells like Updog. Next up on my wish list, I'm going to throw out TARS from Interstellar. Just think about it. It could set itself up as a defensive shield, making you flank the enemy, or it could be quite the mind freak if it just turned into that wheel spoke form and comes rolling at you at an unexpectedly high speed. Its trade-off would be that it just can't really do any damage to you. Its sole design purpose would be to force Helldiver squads to reposition. Alright, we're reaching the end of this wish list to Space Santa. Now we discuss the worst kept secret. There's another faction about to enter the fray. If you've played Helldivers 1, you already know all about them. It's the Illuminate, an aquatic-based alien society that has developed extremely sophisticated technology in their race's long history. On the battlefield, you can expect them to use stealth and cloaking tech to sneak up on you. Once you've been discovered, they'll try to overwhelm their foe with a huge wave, no pun intended, of fighters that they'll warp in. And beware of their munitions because they tend to have homing capabilities. Now, they've already been name dropped in Helldivers 2, and just look at that map. There's so much blank space, it's just begging for a third front to open up. But is it just 3? Let's end on a question for you. Do you think that perhaps there's space on that map for a 4th faction to enter the fray? Many seem to think so, but who or what could it be? We have bugs and robots already. Non-humanoid aliens are likely coming soon, but what do you think it would be? Another human race? Or clones? As sort of Civil War defectors from Super Earth? Or how about a Borg-like collective of cybernetically enhanced humans? Or how about the alternative of the Borgs, the cyberpunk civilization of individuals with superhuman abilities thanks to those cyber implants? Or maybe it's an Asgardian-like race of superhumans, no tech involved, just magic for lack of a better word. Or maybe it's the undead, zombie factions. I'll pass on that one. Or, you know what? I'm just going to stop right there. So why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in. If you have been enjoying this, please don't forget to like, subscribe. You can share. You can hit that notification button. And let's say, why don't you go ahead and go tell your parents you love them. They miss you, know? Thanks again. This has been Daniel. Ta-ta for now. Have a good one. Goodbye.